As a percussionist, you learn to play on so many instruments in the percussion family: battery instruments, mallet instruments, auxiliary percussion, and so on. For battery percussion, for example, you'll play with sticks, mallets, beaters, basically anything the music calls for to get the desired sound out of that instrument. And most likely, your go-to grip is matched grip. This grip is called matched for the reason that both hands hold the sticks in exactly the same way. The thing that gets some students are some very foundational principles. If you learn the match grip technique with flaws, chances are you'll have a harder time playing some higher level rudiments later on in your learning. I've had some students experience difficulty with open stroke rolls, even buzz rolls, due to bad technique. We'll look at some of these problem areas in just a bit. First, let's look at some areas of match grip that you're familiar with. The first step in learning match grip technique involves balancing the stick on your first finger in the first joint. When I do this, the stick balances on my finger. However, this isn't the spot that we want to hold the stick. Our goal is to get the most bounces from the stick off of the drum head. To do this, I'll let the stick bounce on the drum head and move my finger back on the stick slightly every time. Remember, my goal is to try to get the most bounces out of the stick. So now, I'm starting to get more rebounds, and they're sounding a little bit better as well. Now at some point, if I go too far, the stick will become kind of dead weight. It'll be top heavy, and I know that I've passed the sweet spot on the stick. So let me move forward again on the stick. That looks about right. So this is a spot on the stick where I want my fulcrum to be. The fulcrum is a spot on the stick where I rest my first finger and my thumb across from each other. It's a balancing point for the stick, and it gives me the most bounce out of the stick off the drum head. Think of the fulcrum as a bolt on a seesaw. That bolt is the fulcrum for the seesaw, and it allows that seesaw to move back and forth as it should. The fulcrum for our grip will allow our stick to get the most bounce out of the drum head if we have it placed in the right spot on the stick. That's why that first step is very important. So what to do with my back three fingers? Well, I could let my back three fingers just flail out like this, but that kind of looks like tea time, and I actually need my back three fingers later on. What I'm going to do is curve my back three fingers in the same shape that I have my first finger. Notice that the curve is pretty similar, and they follow suit with the first finger. Also notice that I'm not gripping the stick with my back three fingers. Gripping the stick with my back three fingers probably isn't a good idea, because if I wanted the stick to bounce, I would have a really hard time doing so. It would look something like this. You get the idea. So my back three fingers are actually constricting the stick, and I'm not able to get many bounces from the stick off of the drum head. Instead, I want to make sure that my fulcrum is always in contact with my stick, and my back three fingers are curved around the stick, just not in contact with the stick. You want to make sure that the stick is floating in between your back three fingers and the fleshy part of your thumb. Stick grip is one of those funny animals that's interpreted by the artist. The technique is different from one percussionist to the next. In your career, you'll come across many percussionists that use a slightly different variation of match grip technique. They may even use a different technique and swear that it's the best technique to use all around. So is there really a right or wrong way? Not really. They're simply best practices like we looked at today, so that you can get the most consistent, practical way of playing any rhythm, any rudiment that's thrown at you. There are lots of artists who will swear by matched grip, traditional grip, French, Germanic, Moeller, but in the end, it's what you do with that grip that counts. What are your thoughts on best grip? What do you prefer and why? Leave it in the comments below for some good discussion. Thanks again for watching, and please remember to like and subscribe to catch more episodes. And please pass the word on to percussionist friends for sure. I'll catch you next time.